Hi guys, welcome, and who dat? I'm Joe, and today I'm going to be breaking down a list of edge rushers in the draft this year, and we're going to take a look at the ones that would most likely be targeted by Dennis Allen and the New Orleans Saints. Okay, so a lot of us want the Saints to change at edge rusher. We don't get a lot of pressure on the quarterback. And we think that because our prototype is a bigger defensive end, that we're slower. So we're not getting the pressure off the edge. And then mobile quarterbacks can take off, and our defensive ends are too slow. It's not like defensive ends run down running quarterbacks all the time in this league anyway. I mean, think about it. That doesn't really happen. They're quick enough to make a move. They're quick enough to get to the quarterback faster, maybe prevent him from making that move. But once a quarterback starts scrambling, don't you think you need fast linebackers to chase him down, fast secondary to chase him down? I mean, I wouldn't put all that on the defensive end. But anyway, you get pressure from the edge, you sack the quarterback, you make the dang thing happen. We're not getting a lot of that with the Saints. So a lot of fans want to change the prototype. And my fear is we'll suffer against the run if you're putting a smaller guy on the edge out there in early downs. So getting an edge rusher that's fast and quick, yeah. Spending a high draft pick on one of those guys, well, he better produce to the tune of 10 to 12 sacks a year. Otherwise, it's not worth it. And when you spend a first round pick on a guy, you kind of want him to be out there all the time. And if he's no good against the run, he may not be able to get out there all the time. So it's an iffy thing. You just don't know for sure. And the Saints often, they like to gamble on these really big athletic guys, sometimes from smaller schools, sometimes they just don't have a lot of playing time, and then it's a lot of potential. And a lot of times these guys haven't worked out because they've been injured. Marcus Davenport couldn't stay healthy. Peyton Turner couldn't stay healthy. I mean, Turner's going into his last year of his contract, and he hasn't played enough total games to equal one season, much less three, and he's going on his fourth. In that almost one season of play, Turner's racked up about almost 4 sacks, and so he's an active player, and if you would look at that as a rookie year, that's not horrible, but I mean, he's had 3 years to do this. Marcus Davenport, same thing. He was a good player on the field. He just missed a lot of time. The glowing example of the Saints stereotype is Cameron Jordan and Carl Granderson as well, who are, Granderson's our guy right now. And Cameron Jordan, is an all-time Saint. He came out of college as a very good run stopper, a big guy, run stopper, and he was going to have to learn how to rush the passer, and he did a pretty good job. Jordan's an exceptional player. And you don't hit home runs all the time. Your first round pick doesn't hit all the time. And when you use this big defensive end prototype, well, it's not going to hit all the time either. You spend 2 first round picks for Davenport, and he just can't stay on the field because he's injured. Then you spend a first round pick on Peyton Turner, and he comes from a small school, and he's injured all the time. So now everyone has a really bad taste in their mouth with this prototype. And I would say taking a chance on a smaller guy in the 3rd or 4th round, somebody like Zach Bond, who we got in the 3rd round, that's when you can take a chance on a smaller edge rusher. Does he develop into a linebacker? Well, Bond tries his best, and he's our starting Sam. So, yeah, but he's not very great at it. And so, but as an edge rusher, he's still really good. And we just haven't utilized him. We kept Cam Jordan out there on third downs. No sense in putting Zach Bond on the line when Cam Jordan's getting eight sacks a year. Well, Cam came on strong last year, before this past season, and finished with 8 sacks, 8.5 sacks, something like that. But this year, I think he had 3 sacks, and it's not good. So he needs to be replaced on third down at this point. Maybe that's why we never put Zach Bond on the edge on third downs until now. But that kind of production, a guy that's going to come in on third down and rush the passer, yeah, I want that big time. And I know you can get that in the mid rounds, especially if the guy's just going to come in on third down. But, the Saints front office, of course, we spent 2 third-round picks to get Zach Bond, and then immediately tried to force him to play linebacker, never used him on the edge on third down. And yeah, that kind of stuff leaves a bad taste in your mouth too. So I don't trust this front office and this coaching staff to utilize the players to the best of their ability. But I do trust that Dennis Allen and his coaching staff are still going to be focused on that stereotype. So first, I'm going to pull up a list of the best edge rushers in this class that do not fit the Saints stereotype. And first, we're going to start with the top-rated guys. And those 5 guys are Dallas Turner out of Alabama, Laiatu Latu out of UCLA, Jared Verse out of Florida State, Chop Robinson out of Penn State, and Chris Braswell out of Alabama. These 5 guys are at the top of everyone's board, and they are projected first round, second round. You see sometimes the edge rushers slipping in the first round, but the top 3, Dallas Turner, Laiatu Latu, Jared Verse, they're all expected to go in the first round. Chop Robinson was a first-round projection early in the process. Now he's kind of slipped into the second round. Chris Braswell participated in the Senior Bowl, and he was just okay. He didn't show anything extra, and so I don't think Braswell's going to be a first-round pick at this point, but likely second round. These are your top 5 edge rushers that don't meet the stereotype of the Saints. And of the group, Turner, Latu, and Verse are phenomenal guys. Latu has good size, but he's not athletic. I think Latu comes in at right around 250, somewhere around there, a little over 250. He's not over 260. The Saints typically don't go any lighter than 265. Their prototype is usually 275 for defensive end. At a minimum, they'll go 265. And so if we don't know how to utilize these smaller edge rushers, and this coaching staff and this system, it seems like we don't. If we draft Dallas Turner, we're going to try to play him at linebacker. I know we are. I mean, Turner's a guy that's like 245. I don't think he can bulk up 25, 30 pounds to get to that spot. I think you need to be at least 260 to handle playing against the run on a defensive line in the NFL. So I just don't know how the Saints are going to use these guys. You get one of them and you put them on the edge on third down, great. But do you spend a first-round pick or a second-round pick on one of these guys? I don't know if the Saints will, but they are the most talented guys in the class, especially at rushing the passer, and that's what we're trying to improve when you look at guys like this. I want to improve the run as well. So if any of these guys can bulk up and show some good stuff against the run, show the stamina and the endurance to be out there on 3 downs, every drive, every series, then yeah, you go ahead and grab them, but you just don't know. I'm going to show you another list here. These guys are the edge rushers that don't meet our prototype. but are projected to go in the second round, third round, or fourth round. And that includes Jonah Ellis out of Utah, Adisa Isaac out of Penn State. Those guys have had second round buzz, but because of the size limitation, I think they may still be there in the third round. Gabriel Murphy out of UCLA, Javon Solomon out of Troy, Austin Booker out of Kansas, Muhammad Kamara out of Colorado State, Nelson Caesar out of Houston. These guys are undersized. Javon Solomon has really good tape, but he comes from Troy. And at the Senior Bowl, he didn't hold up too well against the Senior Bowl tackles. So Solomon may have found himself falling because there was some third round buzz for him. And I think now he's probably locked in the fourth round. Gabriel Murphy, same thing, fourth rounder, size limitations. You just don't know. Nelson Caesar was at the Senior Bowl, and he wasn't very impressive, so I'm going to keep him as a fourth round lock. Austin Booker and Muhammad Kamara are different. They both showed out and showed off at the Senior Bowl. And even though they're undersized, they've got good tape, and now they've got practice against really good tackles and showed very well. I particularly like Muhammad Kamara out of Colorado State. That's the guy that, to me, is pretty impressive. It'd be neat to have another Kamara on the team. And, yeah, these guys are the ones I think make more sense for the Saints. Somebody in this group where you're not spending a top one, a first round pick or second round pick, a top pick, but you're still getting a pass rusher. So if we grab Javon Solomon in the fourth round, well, yeah, we're probably going to try to play him at linebacker. But if this coaching staff is smart enough to put him on the edge on third downs, you may have a player. Austin Booker, Muhammad Kamara, the same way. Those three guys, Solomon Booker, and Kamara. Yeah. If we grab one of those in the fourth round, I'm okay with it. This group of guys finishes off the list of players, top-rated players in this draft that don't meet our prototype. These guys are all fifth-round projections or later. Zion Tupuola Fatal out of Washington. Grayson Murphy, who was the twin brother of Gabriel Murphy out of UCLA. Xavier Thomas, one of my favorites, out of Clemson. Jalix Hunt out of Houston Baptist. And Khalid Duke out of Kansas State. These guys are bottom round or undrafted guys. And they don't meet our prototype, but they are among the higher rated defensive ends / edge rushers in this class. Most of these undersized players, according to the Saints, and I'm just basing this on history, these undersized guys would be linebackers for the Saints and edge rushers on third down. And we haven't seen them do that with anybody except Bourne in this past year and just in the last couple of games. So whether Dennis Allen's going to continue to do this or not, I just don't know. But those are your best edge rushers that don't meet the criteria, and now we're going to focus on the defensive ends, edge rushers, who I think the Saints and Dennis Allen are going to focus on in this draft, whether we as fans like it or not. And we're going to start with Braylon Trice out of Washington. Among the top edge rushers in the draft this year, he's projected to go bottom of the first round, 6'4", 269 pounds. He's really good against the pass, and he's got size, and he's shown good productivity against the run. As far as the defensive end goes, yeah, I think he's the highest rated guy with size on my board. This is the one I think is the sure thing, the safe bet. There are other guys that look more impressive from a physicality, athletic point of view. But if you go by production, yeah, Braylon Trice, pretty good guy. Don't know if he's going to be the number one guy on the Saints board, though, because we've got Darius Robinson out of Missouri. And he shows up at the Senior Bowl, and everybody realizes how big he is. And he's a monster. I mean, he's a scary dude, you know. He's one of those guys that, yeah, I'm not even going to look at you because I'm afraid you're going to think I'm looking at you weird, and then you're going to pummel me. 6'5", 295 pounds, and he's all muscle. And being that tall, 6'5", it's hard for him to get low. So that's my issue with Robinson, is that, you know, he shows good speed, agility, athleticism. He's just too damn tall. But he plays all along the defensive line. Played 3 years on the, I think 3 years on the inside at defensive tackle for Missouri. And in this last year, kicked to the outside and had his best year. And yeah, he's got a lot still to learn about playing on the outside, about playing with better bend. And, you know, even though you're a tall guy, you can still play low. He's got a lot to learn. I had Darius Robinson projected as like a 3rd round, 4th round pick. But after the Senior Bowl, he's sure to go in the 1st round. Somebody's going to take a chance on this massively athletic guy who quite obviously needs work. And yeah, the Saints are the perfect team to go after Darius Robinson in the 1st round. And if you hit a home run, you hit a home run. But Darius Robinson to me is Marcus Davenport. He's Peyton Turner. He's the guy that's so athletic, you have to get him in the 1st round. And then you hope you can train him. Robinson was great at the Senior Bowl. And like I said, scary looking dude. All the potential in the world. It would not surprise me if the Saints grab him with the 14th overall pick. Giving you a heads up now. He is one of the big boys the Saints like to look at edge rusher. Next on my list, I'm going to go with Marshawn Nealon out of Western Michigan. How about that? Small school. Western Michigan. All the talent and capabilities in the world. You know the Saints like to reach for guys like this. And he had a nice showing at the Senior Bowl. So came to the Senior Bowl from Western Michigan and showed that he could make things happen against these all-world tackles that are going to be drafted this year. Marshawn Nealon, 6'3", 275 pounds. That's pretty awesome to me. 6'3" is just short enough where you can get a little lower. And 275, you know, right there. I mean, perfect for the Saints. Perfect. And if the Saints draft Marshawn Nealon with the 14th overall pick, then I might run out of my house pounding my head like my hair was on fire, because it's going to be a reach. Marshawn Nealon needs work as well, and much like Darius Robinson, with the potential there, yeah, you draft him, but you don't draft him in the 1st round. If you draft him in the 2nd round, either one of them, it'll still be considered a reach to me. But those are guys that, man, if they manage, now look, Robinson's going in the 1st round. Nealon may last through the first 2 rounds because of that film at a small school, you know. People fall in love with players at the Senior Bowl, and you never know. The Saints don't have a 3rd round pick and a 4th round pick this year, but that would be the perfect spot to grab a guy like Nealon and maintain your big-bodied ways at the edge rushing position. But yeah, those are 3 guys, Trice, Robinson, and Nealon, who the Saints could very well take in the 1st round or 2nd round, because that's just the type they like. Next on my list is Brandon Dorlus out of Oregon, 6'3", 291 pounds. He was pretty highly regarded all year long. The tape's okay at Oregon, and national champion, and yeah, probably was hovering around a third round, fourth round pick, third round pick. People thought that he might bump up a little bit. But yeah, now that the Senior Bowl's over, we're waiting on pro days and the scouting combine to see if any further movement happens on these players. But for right now, it seems as though Brandon Dorlus is just a forgotten about guy, and he may be stuck in that third or fourth round range. But because he's 6'3", 291 pounds, the Saints, Dennis Allen liked those guys. And so, yeah, he's a potential pick, potential reach for the Saints in early rounds. But he's the ideal guy. All of these guys have the size that, in my opinion, can go out there and play the run on early downs and rush the passer on third downs. You kind of get your defensive end replacement for Cameron Jordan when you grab a guy this big. And that excites me because the Saints struggle against the run just as much as the pass. One other very high-end guy that I'm going to talk about, Justin Eboigbe out of Alabama. 6'4", 292 pounds. A great, great, great Senior Bowl. And, he's probably gone from a fourth or fifth round projection to into day two. Yeah, Eboigbe wasn't spectacular at the Senior Bowl. I'm just saying that he performed well enough and impressed with his size and athleticism that, he was fourth or fifth round. Now he's going to be second or third round guy, especially if the Saints do their typical thing and reach. He is another impressive stud that meets the prototype for the Saints at edge rusher. And these are all highly rated guys. All of these guys should be gone by the third round. And I think that's your cast right there. The Saints go edge rusher. Those are the guys I would be betting my money on because of our history. Now, does Dennis Allen change things? Like I said, he might learn to utilize smaller edge rushers in past situations. He might. I'm with you guys. I want to see a guy come in here that's going to affect the passer, get 8, 10, 12 sacks, do something we can't do, affect the passing game. But in order for us to do that and grab the players that can do that, we have to have a coaching staff that knows what the hell to do with these guys. So I don't get excited about a smaller guy. I get excited about these big guys because I feel like these are the guys we're going to choose from because of the history of Dennis Allen and, the way that this defensive system is set up. It's all he's ever done. So I'm going to go ahead and mention 4 other players here. These are later round guys, but still are edge rushers that meet that prototype. Brendan Jackson out of Washington State, 6'4", 265 pounds. I think you could probably get him in the 4th or 5th round. We've got Braden McGregor out of Michigan, 6'5", 263. Now, he's too tall and a little light for the Saints' liking. He's too tall for my liking, a little too light for the Saints' liking. But he's out of Michigan, and he's a late round project. And if the Saints don't address edge rush early, these big guys are guys that they might want to take a chance on as a project. Eric Watts out of the University of Connecticut, 6'5", 277 pounds. Yeah, that's exactly what the Saints want. All of these guys are going to be 5th, 6th, 7th rounders, or in the Saints' case, be taken in the 3rd round, you know. And then Cedric Johnson out of Mississippi, 6 foot 3 inches, 265 pounds. These 4 guys will be drafted in the later rounds, but they meet that prototype that the Saints love. So I want to do this video to get these names out, kind of explain to you a little bit about how the edge rushers are set up in this year's draft. When it's all said and done, it looks like the Saints have about 9 players that are ideal size for their defense. And if we do take a chance on a smaller edge rusher, I've run through the list of those as well. Told you guys their projections. I'm going to try to do this with every position group this year in the draft. So subscribe to Rosenville 10 if you are a Saints fan for more Saints videos. And if you're a football fan, maybe this information can help you as well. I'm just a fan. I hear what other people are reporting on. I do some time to research, and then I'll let you guys know what I'm thinking, and we can hang out and talk football for a while. Subscribe to Rosenville 10, and you can hang out with me even more. I'm Joe, and I'll talk to you later.